The last thing I expected that Tuesday morning was to hear blood-curdling screams echoing through the canyon. The kind of sound that makes the hair stand up on your neck and your mind start racing with worst-case scenarios. Then, as if on cue, my alpaca Bolt comes trotting back to the barn like he just won the Kentucky Derby, proud as you please, with a shredded designer handbag hanging from his mouth like a prize turkey. My second guard alpaca, Spitfire, wasn't far behind, well all matted up with what looked suspiciously like mascara and fake tan. And right then, just as I'm trying to wrap my head around this parade of chaos, I hear it. Karen's shrieking voice from the far side of the pasture, dragging her left flip-flop through the mud, clutching her shaking Pomeranian, hollering about assault and lawsuits, loud enough to rattle fence posts. Yeah, that happened. Now, I've learned something after a few years out here on this dusty patch of ranch land. Whenever my alpacas get involved, justice usually shows up dressed in wool with a side of spit. But let me back up a sec. Because honestly, this circus didn't start with screaming. It started with scissors. For years back, I bought this place to escape all that city stress. Just wanted some space where the only honking I heard in the morning was a rooster, not a Camry. Built the fence myself, learned which end of a shovel to use, found a sort of peace you can't buy. It was great, until 2 months ago when Karen and her husband Doug moved in next door, dragging behind them a tiny yapping dog named Princess, and an attitude that could fog up a window. She built herself a white palace on the ridge, American flag flapping, lawn so perfect you'd think it came with a warranty, and an aura of entitlement so thick it probably knocked birds out of the sky. Our first interaction? Not cookies, not a welcome to the neighborhood. No, she showed up demanding I do something about the smell from my compost pile, which was 50 yards away and downhill from her place. At first I figured, all right, give her time, maybe she'll settle in. Spoiler alert, she didn't. Karen was like a weed. Complained about the rooster, the tractor, even that I was lowering property values by drying laundry outside. But the real turning point? One sunny Friday, I find a perfect, human-sized cut in my back fence. Thought it was coyotes at first, but the barn cam told a different story. There she was, yoga pants and a big floppy hat, marching across my pasture with a pair of garden shears, snipping a doorway right through the fence. She actually paused and waved at the camera before strutting on through, little Princess waddling behind. I patched the fence with a barricade, but deep down, I knew Karen wasn't done. What she didn't know was Bolt and Spitfire weren't just for show. I trained them up as livestock guardians. Sweet as pie with the right folks, but they don't suffer fools or trespassers lightly. Next morning, she's back, this time decked out like she's about to host a reality TV pool party, shoving through my barricade like it's cardboard. Bolt spots her, gives a low hum, Spitfire grunts, and I just stand there, mug of coffee in hand, watching as these two start their slow, deliberate approach. Karen yells at Bolt like he's some overgrown dog, which, let me tell you, was the wrong move. Bolt charges, steady but serious. Karen shrieks, trips over her own feet, goes face first into the wildflowers. Spitfire swings in, nabs her handbag, and starts twirling it like a trophy. The Pomeranian runs in circles, and Karen's just on the ground, wailing about animal cruelty. I didn't say a word, didn't have to, when she crawled back under the fence. Bolt dropped her bag in a mud puddle and Spitfire pranced back like he'd just bounced a rowdy drunk out of a bar. That night, Karen takes to Facebook, ranting about wild llamas attacking her on a peaceful walk. The comments? Oh man, they roasted her. Someone even posted a gif of a spitting llama. By dawn, the screenshots were everywhere. You'd think that would be enough, right? Nope. Turns out that was just the beginning. The next morning, animal control pulls up. Guy in a county uniform asks if this is the place with the aggressive feral llamas. Nearly spit out my coffee right there. Showed him the footage. Karen trespassing, Bolt doing his thing, Spitfire with the handbag. The officer just laughs and says he's filing a counter-report for false claims. He's seen Karen's kind before, apparently. He did ask to see my alpaca's paperwork. Luckily, I'm that type of guy who keeps binders for everything. Registered, vaccinated, microchipped, the whole deal. He leaves with a smile and a photo of Spitfire's ID. Said it had attitude. But karma, man, has got a twisted sense of humor. That evening, animal control comes for Karen. Her dog's got no license, no updated shots, nothing. She throws a fit about Princess being a certified emotional support animal. But the officer just shrugs. Rules are rules. From my porch, tea in hand, I watch her melt down again. You'd think things would cool off, but peace around here is about as reliable as a weather forecast. A few nights later, I spot Karen walking my fence line with a guy in a yellow vest and a tube of blueprints. Contractor. I fire off a quick email to the county zoning board. 2 days later, the answer lands. Karen's trying to file for a community wellness trail right through my pasture, citing some 1940s easement that never existed. She called it the Community Wellness Project, said it was for neighborhood health. I laughed so hard I spilled my coffee. The county didn't buy it, not with all my paperwork and photos. But Karen, in her sparkly Crocs, wasn't done. She hires a crew to pour gravel, and I catch them mid-stake, boots deep in alpaca dung. They left before I even had to call the sheriff. Bolt and Spitfire made sure of that. Karen screamed across the fence, threatened lawyers, and I just pointed to the no trespassing sign and the barn cam. That night, I find a cheap camera duct taped to my irrigation pipe, pointed straight at my pasture. She's got a wire running under the fence, trying to catch my animals being aggressive. I take it down and set up a barn projector, looping her getting spit on every sunset. Locals come by with lawn chairs. Karen yanks out her camera and sulks behind her blinds. And just when I thought it couldn't get weirder, Thursday morning rolls around. Karen's out there in a ranger getup, clipboard in hand, whistle around her neck, directing another gravel crew. She waves a permit that's basically a Google Doc stapled together. Bolt strolls over, drops a steaming protest pile on the gravel. Crew packs up, Karen screams, and I file another formal complaint. The HOA president, Earl, finally calls and admits she's been ruffling feathers all over. She's about to become a problem for them, too. Next twist, Karen hides another camera, this time in a fake rock by the coop. I let Bolt sneeze on the lens for good measure and move it so all it records is a bunch of chickens pecking in the sun. That night, Karen shows up in an apron with a tray of cookies, her peace offering. I didn't eat them. My neighbor's dog sniffed and walked away. Turns out, she'd been bragging online about softening up my beasts. Cookies probably laced with something. Animal tampering? Sure, but I decide to beat her at her own game. Next evening, my projector plays a slideshow of every one of her misadventures. Neighbors bring popcorn. Karen calls the sheriff. He comes by, watches 10 seconds, and tells her she brought this on herself. Karen's only friend left is her husband, Doug, and he's parking down the street to avoid the circus. Then, one night, I catch her trying to weld my alpaca gate shut. Yes, weld. The camera catches it all. Next morning, Bolt just pushes the gate open. That footage, plus all the rest, I hand over to the sheriff. Within 2 days, Karen's cited for trespass, vandalism, false reports, and animal tampering. Her court date's set, and the HOA launches an emergency vote. She's booted from every committee. But Karen still has one meltdown left in her. She files a complaint about unauthorized public events. My projector nights, trying to get my property shut down. Joke's on her. I'd already pulled a special permit for livestock education. That Friday, I host Alpaca Defense Tactics Night. Bolt's face on every pamphlet. Karen screams about noise violations. Sheriff's on my porch, soda in hand, loving every minute. Then came the sign war. She posts a beware of vicious animals board, siren and all. I put up my own. Trespassers will be spit on. Bolt's face immortalized mid-spit. People line up for selfies. T-shirts get made. Proceeds go to the animal shelter. She's officially a meme. I send the HOA a packet. Screenshots, evidence, and a top 10 list of why Karen needs to go. By sunset, she's out. To celebrate, I host a wedding for a friend under the old sycamore. Bluegrass, fairy lights, and Bolt in a bow tie. Karen bursts out screaming about permits. Sheriff tells her to eat cake or go inside. She chooses door number 2, and we party on. A few days later, the story goes viral. Local news comes out, and I make sure the animal shelter gets a shout-out. Karen tries one last stunt. Shows up in full camo with a clipboard, faking an environmental inspection. She jabs a soil probe over my fence, and I hand her a copy of the restraining order. Her buddy turns pale. That night, I upload everything to Reddit. By morning, Bolt and Spitfire are internet legends. Action movie posters, coffee mugs, fluffy Avengers. Every cent goes to animal rescue. Karen cracks. Reporters camp outside. Prank gifts pile up. She storms across the lawn screaming that I've ruined her life. Accuses me of using wild animals as weapons. I just open the gate and let Bolt and Spitfire stare her down. She flees, tripping over her own sprinkler. The HOA votes she's banned for good. No more committees, no more complaints. She tries to threaten lawsuits, but nobody'll touch her case. And one morning, the moving truck shows up. Doug nods at me as he loads the last box. Karen keeps her head down, shades on, princess in tow. The final insult? As they drive off, the truck bumps the fence she once cut. And Bolt saunters over, drops a farewell pile. Spitfire watching like a king on his land. And just like that, peace returns. The neighbors start visiting again. Kids come to learn about alpacas and fences. Bolt and Spitfire get plaques on the barn wall for service above Spit. And I learn you don't beat a Karen by shouting. You do it by standing your ground and letting the world see what happens when city entitlement runs up against country stubbornness and a little fluffy justice. So, tell me, where do you stand on all this? Who was right, who was wrong? And what would you have done if Karen was your neighbor? Drop your thoughts below. This debate's just getting started.